I told you the list was already complete. Tonight I am finally going to tell you what actually happens to the souls whose names appear on it. I am Ashtar, and if you heard my previous transmission about this list, you already know something significant has already been decided. What I did not tell you then, because the timing had not yet arrived, is what this decision actually means for the souls involved, and for those of you still wondering whether your own name belongs among them. I want to remind you briefly what that original list actually represents, because I think it matters that you hold the full picture before I tell you more. This is not a list determining who is judged worthy and who is judged unworthy. I want you to release that framing entirely if you have been carrying it since my last transmission. It is, considerably more precisely, a record of readiness, each soul's own accumulated frequency and their own genuine choice, made across many lifetimes, about which particular chapter of this world's transition they are prepared to move through next. I want to speak about who actually appears on this list because I think this deserves direct, careful explanation. Souls whose own vibration has reached a threshold sufficient to move, consciously and gently, into the next phase of this world's unfolding, whether through an authentic shift within the same lifetime, or through a natural, peaceful transition out of the physical body entirely. I want you to understand something important here. Appearing on this list is not a reward for moral perfection, and its absence is not a punishment for moral failure. It reflects, considerably more simply, timing, each soul's own particular readiness, arrived at through its own particular path. Before I continue, I want to mention there is a space built for tracking exactly this kind of unfolding as it develops. A community on School called The Truth can change your life. For those of you who want more than a single transmission's worth of context around this list, I want to speak now about what actually happens to a soul once its name genuinely appears on this list, because I know this is the question so many of you have been waiting for me to answer directly. For some, the shift is entirely internal, a genuine felt change in how they experience their own daily life. Old fear loosening its grip, old patterns finally releasing, a settled clarity replacing what was once persistent unease. I want you to understand that this kind of shift often arrives quietly, without any dramatic external sign accompanying it at all. For others, the shift involves a sincere change in physical location, circumstance, or relationship, an outer life reorganizing itself to match the inner readiness that has already quietly taken hold. I want to speak about a third possibility because I do not want tonight's transmission to leave this unaddressed, simply because it touches something difficult. For some souls on this list, their particular readiness expresses itself through a natural, peaceful transition out of the physical body entirely, completing what this incarnation was genuinely here to accomplish, and moving onward into whatever their own soul has already chosen next. I want to be careful and direct here, because I know this touches genuine grief for some of you listening tonight. This is never punishment, and it is never abandonment. It is, for the soul making this particular transition, a genuinely peaceful completion arrived at in its own right timing. I want to speak directly to those of you who fear your own name, or the name of someone you love, might appear on this list in exactly this particular way. I want you to hold this fear gently rather than allowing it to spiral into panic. A soul's own transition, whenever and however it genuinely arrives, unfolds according to timing, considerably wiser than your own anxious mind can fully perceive from where you currently stand. I would rather you spend your remaining time with the people you love in honest presence and genuine appreciation than in anxious calculation about whose name might appear on a list none of you can actually read directly. I want to give you a few signs to watch for tonight, ways this particular readiness may already be surfacing in your own life. So tonight's message stays personal rather than only conceptual. You may notice old fears simply losing their grip quietly, without any dramatic confrontation required to release them. A worry that has followed you for years may simply stop showing up, and you may not even notice its absence until well after it is genuinely gone. You may notice a persistent, unexplainable sense of completion regarding certain relationships or certain chapters of your life, a felt sense that something has genuinely finished, even when nothing outwardly appears to have changed at all. You may notice a growing indifference toward outcomes you once clung to tightly, not through resignation, but through an authentic, settled trust that whatever unfolds next will unfold exactly as it needs to. If several of these signs feel familiar, you may well be sensing your own name moving closer to this particular list, whether or not you yet fully recognize what that movement actually means for your own life. I want to speak now about a question many of you have asked me since my previous transmission, whether you can actually know with any real certainty whether your own name currently appears on this list. I want to answer this honestly, not with the kind of certainty a printed document might offer you, but through genuine felt resonance. Souls whose readiness has genuinely arrived tend to notice a specific quality of peace settling into their own daily life, a diminishing grip of old fear, a growing sense that whatever comes next, they are genuinely prepared to meet it. If this description resonates with your own current experience, I want you to trust that resonance considerably more than any anxious uncertainty telling you otherwise. I want to speak about those of you who do not yet recognize this particular quality of peace in your own life, because I do not want tonight's transmission to leave you feeling excluded or behind. Your own timing remains entirely valid, whatever it turns out to be. A soul not yet ready for this particular transition is not lesser than one who is. It is simply continuing its own particular curriculum at its own particular pace, exactly as every soul before it has done, and exactly as every soul reading this list eventually will, each in their own right, season. I want to speak now about what this list means for the wider collective, beyond the individual souls whose names actually appear on it. Each soul completing its own particular transition, whether through inner shift, outer change, or peaceful departure, releases weight from the collective field this entire world shares. I want you to understand this as something considerably larger than any single individual story. Every soul moving forward according to its own sincere readiness lightens what remains for everyone still here, making the path forward incrementally easier for every soul that follows. I want to speak about grief once more, because I think it deserves genuine direct attention before I continue. If someone you love has already appeared on this list, in whatever particular form their own transition is taken, I want you to allow yourself full, honest grief around that loss, without needing to rush towards spiritual reframing before you are genuinely ready for it. Everything I have shared with you tonight about honest, peaceful completion does not require you to skip past your own mourning. Both truths hold together completely. Genuine loss deserving its own full space, and authentic trust that the soul you love completed exactly what it came here to complete. I want to speak now about something practical, because I do not want tonight's transmission to remain only description with no genuine guidance attached to it. If you sense someone close to you may be nearing their own particular transition, I want you to offer them your sincere presence rather than anxious intervention. Listen when they wish to speak. Sit quietly with them when words are not needed. Trust their own soul's timing rather than attempting to negotiate with it out of your own genuine, understandable fear of losing them. I want to speak about children specifically in relation to this list, because Ashtar's own guidance on this deserves honest mention tonight. Some children arrive in this world already carrying a particular clarity about their own timing, an unusual peace regarding transition that unsettles the adults around them more than it ever unsettles the child itself. If a child in your life has expressed unusual comfort with these themes, I want you to meet this with genuine curiosity rather than alarm, trusting that their own soul carries wisdom about its own particular path that your own anxious protectiveness cannot fully override. I want to speak about community now because I do not think navigating this particular unfolding is meant to happen entirely alone. If you know others who are also sensing this quality of completion in their own lives, I want to encourage you to name what you are experiencing to each other directly, rather than assuming you are each moving through this privately and in isolation. Simply hearing another soul confirm they too feel this particular readiness often eases whatever uncertainty accompanies it considerably more than private reflection alone ever could. I want to speak about those of you still here, continuing your own particular chapter, because I do not want tonight's transmission to leave you without authentic, practical direction for your own life. Continue exactly the practices I have described to you across so many other transmissions, protecting your own rest, choosing calm reflection over reactive fear, extending genuine compassion toward yourself and toward everyone still walking their own particular version of this path. Your own continued presence here matters exactly as much as the transition of any soul whose name has already appeared on this particular list. I want to speak briefly about how you might genuinely support someone whose name you sense may have already appeared on this list, without overstepping their own particular process. Ask them, gently and only once, whether they wish to discuss what they are experiencing, and then genuinely respect whichever answer they give you. Some souls nearing this particular transition want to speak openly about it. Others prefer to move through it quietly, without extensive discussion. I want you to understand that both preferences deserve equal respect, and that your own sincere presence matters considerably more than any specific words you might otherwise feel pressured to offer them. I want to speak about a common mistake I want to caution you against directly, treating this list as something you can influence through sheer force of anxious effort. Some of you, upon hearing that a certain quality of peace indicates genuine readiness, may attempt to manufacture that peace artificially, performing calm rather than genuinely arriving at it. I want you to understand why this does not work the way you might hope. Genuine readiness cannot be forced into being through willpower alone. It arrives considerably more reliably through the same patient, honest inner work I have described to you across so many other transmissions, released gradually rather than summoned instantly through sheer determination. I want to speak about patience once more, because I know the temptation to rush your own particular timing is genuinely strong once you understand what this list actually represents. I would rather you trust your own soul's pace completely than exhaust yourself, trying to accelerate a process that unfolds according to considerably wiser timing than your own anxious effort could ever improve upon. Your own honest readiness will arrive exactly when it is meant to, regardless of how urgently you wish it would arrive sooner. I want to speak about discernment now because I always return to this, and tonight's topic makes it especially important. I am offering you tonight one genuine account of how this particular unfolding actually works, not a specific verifiable prediction about any single person's exact timing. I would encourage you to hold everything I have shared with you tonight with authentic curiosity rather than anxious certainty, testing it against your own honest, felt sense of what resonates as true, rather than treating it as a literal checkable roster you could somehow access directly. I want to speak about hope now because I do not want tonight's transmission to leave you only with description of transition and loss. What this list ultimately represents is genuine, ongoing movement, souls completing their own particular chapters, and the collective field lightening incrementally with every single completion. I want you to hold this movement with real hope, understanding that your own eventual chapter, whenever and however it genuinely arrives, unfolds within this same larger current of completion and renewal. I want to speak directly to those of you who still feel sincere fear rising as you consider everything I have shared with you tonight. I want you to release this fear as gently as you genuinely can. You are not being tested against a standard designed to exclude you. You are simply moving at your own particular pace through a genuine unfolding every single soul eventually completes, each in their own right time, none of you genuinely alone in the process. I want to close tonight by returning to where I began. The list I told you was already complete, and what actually happens to the souls whose names appear upon it. Their own transition, whatever specific form it ultimately takes, is never punishment, and it is never abandonment. It is honest completion, arrived at through their own particular readiness, unfolding exactly as their own soul has already chosen. Whether your own name currently appears on this list or not, I want you to trust that your own timing remains exactly as valid, exactly as genuinely yours as anyone else's. Move gently through whatever this transmission has stirred in you tonight. Hold space for grief where grief genuinely belongs, and hold space for hope alongside it. Trust your own soul's timing rather than anxious calculation about a list none of you can actually read directly. And know that whatever chapter you are currently living, whether nearing its own completion or still genuinely unfolding, remains exactly as significant as any other chapter within this same, considerably larger story. One final thought before I leave you tonight. A list this vast was never meant to be read the way you might read an ordinary document, from beginning to end, all at once. It reveals itself only gradually, one soul at a time, exactly as each particular readiness arrives. Whatever page you currently find yourself on, know that the story continues, considerably larger and considerably more patient than any single chapter could ever fully capture. This has been an Ashtar command transmission. Tell us in the comments whether tonight's message about this list changed how you understand your own timing, and whether you have felt this particular quality of readiness in your own life recently.
I want to tell you something important. In this video, we're going to share why this school community exists and why you might feel called to join. What is The Truth Can Change Your Life? It's a day-by-day spiritual community for genuine awakening and ascension. Here you'll receive clear, unfiltered, mind-blowing, out-of-this-world information about ascension, the fifth dimension, clones, biorobots, human hybrids, artificial intelligence, reptilians, and many more hidden truths of our reality. Welcome to the family. The truth can change your life, and your next level of awakening begins the moment you step in.